"This is what you deserve, you useless old woman. Now you're on your own." Those were the last words my son Derek threw at me before speeding off in his car, leaving me stranded in front of a derelict house with cracked walls and a roof sagging like a broken back, deep in the woods of rural Georgia. I can still see the look of pure contempt on his face in the rearview mirror, as if I were a burden he'd finally managed to dump. 3 days later, that same son called me 45 times, desperate, screaming over the phone, "Mom, what did you do?" But by then, it was too late for regrets. My name is Olivia Green. I'm 74 years old, and this is the story of how a child can be crueler than any stranger, and how life, in the most unexpected ways, ends up settling the score. I was born in a small farm town in Kansas to a humble, hardworking family. My dad was a farmer, my mum took in sewing. I learned early that anything you get in this life, you earn with sweat, effort, and above all, with dignity. I could handle a plow before I could write in cursive. We didn't have luxuries, but we had principles. My father always said, "A man's worth is in his word and his work." That lesson stuck with me my whole life. You know, telling this story isn't easy. It means reopening wounds I've tried to heal. But if my pain can help even one of you watching feel less alone, then it's worth it. If this story is connecting with you, if you've ever felt betrayed by someone you loved, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is a sanctuary for real stories from people like you and me. Every single subscription tells the algorithm that these stories matter, that our stories matter. Don't just watch and leave, be part of this community. I spent 35 years of my life as a seamstress, working out of a small room in our house in Wichita. My fingers were a roadmap of needle prick scars. My eyes grew tired under the flickering light of a cheap lamp, but every stitch was for my family. That sewing machine was my only companion, its hum lulling me to sleep in the early hours as I finished prom dresses, school uniforms, and curtains for neighbours, all to make sure my family never went without. I'm not ashamed of that sacrifice. I was proud of it. My husband George was the heart of our home, a man of strong character and infinite tenderness. He held down the fort with our 3 kids, Derek, Robert, and Sophia. He never complained about my long hours. When I'd finally emerge from my sewing room, dead on my feet, he'd greet me with a hug that melted all the fatigue away. The kids would run into my arms, and even though we were broke, I felt like $1,000,000 because I had a family. At least, that's what I thought back then. From a young age, Derek was different. While Robert and Sophia were all hugs, Derek would watch me with this calculating look, like he was sizing up my worth. By 12, he was already saying he didn't want to be a labourer's kid, that he was going to study to be someone important. I thought it was ambition. I felt a flicker of pride. But there was a tone, a way he'd look at my rough, calloused hands that made my effort feel small. When he turned 18, I pulled some strings and got him a job as an office assistant at a local firm. An honest start. He never appreciated it. He was always complaining, saying it was beneath him. He eventually got a degree in construction management and landed a better job, and that's when the real change began. I'd come home tired, smelling of machine oil and old fabric, and he'd grimace. "Mum, can't you shower before you sit down? That smell is embarrassing." I'd bite my tongue, stay quiet, and head straight for the shower. Not because I was ashamed, but because I didn't want a scene. I told myself, he's young, he'll grow up, he'll understand, but I was wrong. The years passed. Derek prospered. He started his own construction company, married a girl from a fancy Atlanta family, and had 2 beautiful kids, Liam and Emma. George and I became doting grandparents. Every weekend, we'd drive over, bring gifts, tell stories. The kids adored us. Those were my happiest moments. But for Derek, our closeness was an inconvenience. "Mom, you don't need to come every weekend. The kids have soccer and ballet. They need their space." As if time with their grandparents was a chore. 5 years ago I retired. Our pension wasn't much, but it was enough for our little farmhouse in Macon. We had a vegetable garden, some chickens, a simple, peaceful life. Then George got sick. Body aches, extreme fatigue. I took him to a hospital in Atlanta, and we got the news that shattered my world. Pancreatic cancer, advanced. I took care of him day and night. Derek barely showed his face, always swamped with a big project. Robert and Sophia, who lived out of state, came when they could, but I was there for every moment. I had made a vow, in sickness and in health. And one early morning, 3 days before our anniversary, George left me. He passed away in my arms. I felt half of my soul get ripped away. The funeral was on a rainy Thursday. Derek showed up in a designer black suit and sunglasses, playing the part of the grieving son. But I could see the calculations going on behind his eyes. And right there, in the depths of my grief, he showed his true colors. He approached me after, gave me a stiff hug and whispered, "Don't worry about a thing, Mom. I'll handle everything from now on." I thought he meant my grief. I was so naive. That same night, he took me to his McMansion in an Atlanta suburb. He sat me down in his sterile, white living room and said, "You're getting old, Mom. You can't live alone on that farm. It's not safe. You're better off here." Shattered, I agreed. I left my home, my animals, my memories. It was the beginning of the worst chapter of my life. The first few days were okay. The grandkids were thrilled. Liam wanted me to teach him how to plant seeds. Emma asked me to sing the songs George used to hum. But Derek and his wife weren't having it. I heard her in the kitchen one afternoon. "Derek, your mom is in the way. We don't have the space, and the kids are getting too attached." My son replied, "Relax, I've got a plan." A chill went down my spine. Weeks went by and they started asking for my papers. "To get your affairs in order," Derek said. Grieving and exhausted, I handed over copies of my driver's license, my social security, my pension documents, even the deed to the farm. He smiled this slick, satisfied smile. "Don't you worry, Mom. I'm going to manage everything, for your own good." I wanted to believe him. He was my son. But things quickly became unbearable. The comments started. "Mom, you can't manage money anymore. It's better if I handle it. Don't waste your pension on junk, old woman." He said this in front of my grandkids. I saw the confusion on their faces. I was banned from the kitchen. "You make a mess." I was relegated to a corner of the living room like a piece of old furniture. I'd spend hours staring out the window, remembering my life. I started getting bank letters about large withdrawals. Derek would snatch them from my hands. "It's nothing, Mom. Trust me." But that trust was shattered. One night I couldn't sleep. I overheard him on the phone. "It's all in my name now. Soon it'll all be mine." My blood ran cold. The next day I confronted him. "Derek, what's going on with my accounts?" He let out this nasty, mocking laugh. "Mom, you're not in any state to handle anything. Everything you have is in my hands now. It's for the best." "What do you mean in your hands?" "Exactly that. I own the house, the accounts, everything. Your only job is to not get sick because taking care of you is burden enough." The floor fell out from under me. He didn't see me as his mother anymore. I was a liability. Life in his house became a living hell. They'd hide food from me, yell at me. It was clear he wanted me gone. One Friday morning over breakfast, he made his move. "Mom, you can't stay here anymore. I've found a place for you. I'm taking you tomorrow." "What place?" "A house out in the sticks. You won't be in anyone's way there." I knew right then he was going to abandon me. That night I didn't sleep. I thought about how my own son could do this. I remembered George, his smile, and I felt a strength rise up in me. I promised myself I wouldn't take this lying down. At dawn, Derek pulled up, engine running. "Let's go, Mum. It's time." He drove for 2 hours in dead silence, deep into the Georgia backwoods, until he stopped in front of this rotting house. Peeling paint, a caved-in porch, windows boarded up. It smelled of mold and despair. He got out, opened my door, and gestured sharply. "Get out." "Here? You're leaving me here?" "Yep. You'll be better off. No one will bother you, and I can finally focus on my life." He tossed a small suitcase with my clothes onto the dirt. Before he sped off, he added, "Don't call me. Don't look for me. This is your place now." And he was gone. I went inside. Damp walls, a filthy mattress on the floor. It was a tomb. The first few days were a nightmare. I walked to a nearby gas station to buy cheap bread and canned beans with the little cash I had. The cold at night seeped into my bones. I thought I would die there, forgotten. But something ignited inside me, a mix of pain and white-hot anger. Looking at my worn, scarred hands, I thought, I am not useless. I started walking to the nearest town more often. I found good people, salt-of-the-earth folks who offered me food, who asked about my story. I didn't tell them everything, but their kindness gave me hope. One afternoon, I ran into an old client from my sewing days, Mr. Henderson. He was shocked to see me. Olivia Green, what in God's name are you doing out here? I thought you were in Macon. I looked down. George passed. My son decided this was my place now. He was quiet for a moment, then put a hand on my shoulder. You don't deserve this. If you need help, you've got it. That meant everything. Meanwhile, Derek didn't call, not once. It was like I'd been erased. But life has a way of circling back. You know, sharing this humiliation is one of the hardest things I've ever done. The algorithm is a brutal thing. If you don't engage, this story just disappears. So I'm begging you, if you're still with me, please tap that subscribe button and hit the bell. Don't let my story get buried. And for those of you who are watching but won't subscribe, I want you to go down to the comments and tell me why. Tell everyone why you'd let a story like this just fade away. As I was starting to find my footing, I heard rumors in town. Derek's company was in trouble. He was over-leveraged, up to his eyeballs in debt to suppliers. The golden boy was falling apart. I felt a grim sense of justice. Then, one Thursday, my old flip phone rang. Derek's name flashed on the screen. I answered. Hello? Sobbing. Mom, I need to talk to you. I stayed silent. Everything's falling apart. The company. I'm about to lose everything. The banks won't return my calls. You always knew how to fix things. Help me. I took a deep breath. Derek, you stopped listening to me a long time ago. You said I was useless. Now you come asking for help? I know I was wrong, but I need you. I hung up. He called again, and again, and again, over 40 times in a week. The desperation was palpable. Finally, one Saturday his car pulled up. He looked haggard, his suit a wrinkled mess. Mom, he said, his eyes begging. Please, forgive me. I didn't know what I was doing. I just stared at him. You took my house, my money, my peace. You left me here to rot, and now you want help because you're in trouble. He broke down, kneeling in the dirt. I was an idiot, an arrogant jerk. But if you don't help me, I'll lose everything. For the first time, the tables had turned. The son who saw me as a burden was now dependent on me. Get up, Derek, I said. A Green doesn't grovel. He stood, crying like a child. I'm begging you, Mom. Tell me what to do. I pointed to a broken tree stump. Sit. We'll talk. He obeyed. What do you really want from me? Advice. Guidance. You always got back up. I don't know how. I'm lost. I didn't trust him. Not one bit. Life gives us tests, son, and sometimes those tests are the only way to learn respect. I stood up. For now, you should go. I need time to think. He left, defeated. That night, I found an envelope under the door, a letter from him. Mom, I know I hurt you, but if there's any love left in your heart, let me show you I can change. Only you can teach me. Don't abandon me like I abandoned you. It was hard not to be moved, but I couldn't let emotion cloud my judgment. Around this time, I met with a lawyer, Mr. Davis, through a town connection. He told me something incredible. Because Derek had abandoned me on this land and I had been living here and improving it, I could file for adverse possession, squatters' rights. The land could become legally mine. Mrs. Green, he said, you have a real shot here. And if my son tries to claim it? I asked. He has no legal standing. He dumped you here. He has nothing in writing. Hope, real hope, began to bloom. But the real shock came when Mr. Davis brought out a hydrologist, Dr. Evans. They tested the spring on the property. Mrs. Green, Dr. Evans said, his eyes wide, this isn't just a spring. This is one of the purest aquifers I've ever seen. The flow rate is phenomenal. We're talking thousands of gallons an hour. This is a gold mine. The lawyer looked at me. Bottling companies would pay a fortune for the rights to this water. You're sitting on a fortune, Olivia. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. The worthless land Derek dumped me on was worth millions. The news, of course, got out. Derek's calls turned frantic. Mom, you can't do this to me. That's my property, I answered calmly. No, Derek, it was never yours. He showed up one last time with two rough-looking men trying to intimidate me into signing papers. I stood my ground. If you think I'm scared of you and your friends, you've forgotten who you're dealing with. I've faced down harder men than this at fabric wholesalers. The two guys looked embarrassed. One mumbled, I didn't sign up for this, man, and they got back in their truck and left. Derek was left alone. His bluff called. Mom, you don't understand, he screamed, impotent. I understand perfectly, I said. Now get off my land. He drove away, and I knew it was over. The judge ruled in my favor. The property and the water rights were mine. I signed a lucrative deal with a natural water company. The money that came in was life-changing. I used it to build a beautiful, modest home on the property. I put a plaque on the porch for George. Robert and Sophia visit with their families all the time. My grandkids run through the yard, drinking from the spring that saved their grandma. As for Derek, I heard he lost his company, his house, everything. He moved out west somewhere. I don't know if he found peace. A mother's love never fully dies, but some bridges are burned for good. I won. Not with revenge, but with resilience. Listen to me, right now. If this story has gripped you, if you've felt every bit of my pain and my triumph, you cannot be a passive viewer. You need to subscribe to this channel. The internet is a noisy place, and your subscription is a vote for humanity, for real stories. It tells YouTube that this is important, and if you're still hesitating, if you're about to click away without subscribing, I need you to ask yourself, why? What's stopping you from supporting a platform that gives a voice to the voiceless? Go to the comments and confess it. Don't ever let anyone tell you you're useless. Your worth isn't in what people say about you. It's in the strength you find when you have nothing left to lose. Life always comes full circle. Always.